Miss April.
Miss April, can we just get straight to the lesson? I've been waiting a whole week to find out what happened to David.
You know, you could have just looked it up and read about it for yourself.
Well, where would I have done that?
Oh, I think it's somewhere in the Bible. I think Miss April gets all the stories she tells us from there.
Well, duh. Everybody knows Miss April gets the Bible stories from the Bible. I meant, what page number in the Bible? Oh, what page is the story about David on, Miss April?
Well, that depends on what translation you're using.
Oh, my Bible's in English.
I meant a translation like the King James Version or the NIV or ISV.
Why are there so many different types of Bibles, Miss April?
Well, the Old Testament was originally written in Hebrew and the New Testament was written in the Greek language. 600 years ago, the Bible was first translated into English, but all languages change over time.
What you mean?
Like the word stand. When the King James Version was written in 1611, it was spelled and pronounced differently. It was standeth. They also used the words thee and thou, but today we say you. Over the years, the Bible has been translated into the way we speak today, as well as into many other languages besides English.
Oh.
Instead of page numbers, we use the name of the book of the Bible along with the chapter and verse number. That way we can be sure we're talking about the same part of the Bible. Even if you have the same translation, the page numbers can be different, depending on the size of the print.
Our Mama and Papa have the biggest print in their Bibles. Every letter looks like the giant E on the top of the chart at the eye doctor's office.
Papa holds his Bible way out in front of him when he's reading. He says his eyes ain't getting bad. His arms are just getting too short.
Well, the older you get, the harder it becomes to see the text that's up close. But to answer your question, Beulah, you can do a search in an electronic copy of the Bible to find things. Do you have the Bible app on your phone?
I can have it.
If you just type in the word David, one of the first references that is listed is 1 Samuel 18, and that's where our lesson last week began.
Oh, okay. Can we get to this week's lesson now? You said last time that David was hiding from King Saul and he went to see Jonathan.
Yes, Jonathan was Saul's son, and he was also David's very close friend.
Did Jonathan help him hide?
Well, at first, he didn't believe he even needed to hide. He thought his dad told him all about his plans, and Saul hadn't said anything to him about wanting to get rid of David.
Well, of course he wasn't going to tell Jonathan because he was David's best friend. He done gave him all his weapons and armor and stuff.
Yes, and this is what David said, so they worked out a plan for Jonathan to find out the truth, and then came up with a secret signal to let David know what he discovered.
Oh, a secret signal. Me and Hezekiah's got one of those.
What kind of secret signal?
Well, Hezekiah gets home from his special smart people school after I get home, 'cause they get out an hour later, and then his mama's got to go pick him up. Whenever I ain't got a bunch of chores or homework to do, I give him the secret signal that we can practice throwing and catching a baseball till it's time to eat dinner.
What's the signal?
Oh, we got a little red flag on the side of our mailbox, so I put it up when it's okay to come over, and I put it down when it ain't okay.
Billy, did you know that the flag on a mailbox already has a purpose for signaling something else?
No, what?
It lets the person delivering the mail know if you have outgoing mail in the mailbox. If there's not any mail being delivered, the postal worker won't stop at the mailbox unless they see the flag up, which means that there's something in there that needs to be picked up.
Well, that explains why Mama's been so upset with the mailman. I heard her talking the other day how she was going to go up to the post office and file a complaint because he ain't been picking up the letters and bills she's been trying to send out. You probably done got him fired and now his family's going to starve, all because you and Hezekiah's secret signal.
Oh.
I doubt it means all that. But Billy, you should definitely tell your mom that you've been changing the position of the flag because you didn't know it had another purpose. And then think of a different way to let Hezekiah know that you're available to play outside.
Oh, okay. Oh, I could get a big old light and shine it up in the sky like Gotham City does to signal Batman.
Except it's daylight. How's Hezekiah supposed to see that?
I'm sure you'll think of something.
Why don't you just text him on your phone?
Oh, yeah, I reckon I could.
Miss April, can we get back to the story about David and Jonathan?
Okay, well, the next day was a new moon celebration, so ordinarily David would be eating the feast at Saul's table.
Oh, I wonder what they had.
Lots of good stuff, I'm sure. But David planned to miss it for 2 days in a row, and if Saul asked Jonathan where he was going to say that David had gone to Bethlehem to take part in his family's yearly sacrifice. If Saul became angry about that, then Jonathan would know that his dad planned to harm David.
What was the secret signal?
After 3 days, Jonathan was going to go out into a field and shoot 3 arrows while David hid nearby. Jonathan would then tell a young boy who was helping him to go and retrieve the arrows. If Jonathan told him that the arrows were past the boy, then David would know that Saul indeed wanted to hurt him.
I think I know what happened next. Saul got angrified because David wasn't there, and then Jonathan went out and shot his arrows and said, "Go get them arrows I done shot way past you."
Yes. Not only did Saul get angry that David hadn't come to the feast, when Jonathan refused to send for him, Saul threw his spear at Jonathan.
He threw a spear at his own son?
Yes.
Did he hit him?
No, he missed.
Oh, good. I'm starting to see why Saul didn't want to fight that big old giant. His spear throwing skills weren't no good. What happened next?
David ran away, and that began years of hiding from Saul. David had left so quickly that he hadn't brought his weapons with him, so when he stopped off somewhere to get food, a priest gave him Goliath's sword that had been kept there.
Oh, that should have been David's anyway, since he took it from...
The big old giant?
Right.
Yes, it seems like it was rightfully his. David's family was also no longer safe from Saul, so his parents and brothers went into hiding with him along with 400 men who wanted to help him. Later, that number grew to 600 men.
Oh, it'd be kind of hard to hide 600 people.
Yes, and to get food for everyone every day. One of the first things they did was to help rescue a town from an attack by the Philistines, but they couldn't stay there or anywhere for very long because someone would always tell Saul where they were, and he would come with 3,000 soldiers.
Oh, no.
Is 3,000 more than 600?
Yes, 5 times more.
Did Saul find them?
No, they always escaped because God was protecting David. One time Saul was chasing David and his men around a mountain and was getting close to catching him. But then someone came and reported that the Philistines were attacking, so he had to call off the pursuit.
Shoo!
On another day, Saul went into a cave by himself and didn't realize that David and his men were in there. David crept up and cut off a piece of Saul's robe without Saul even realizing it.
Oh, he could have killed Saul and become the king.
Yes, but David said that God had made Saul the king, and he wasn't going to be the one to hurt him. When Saul left the cave and was far enough away, David yelled out to him and held up the piece of robe he'd cut off. Saul recognized that David had spared his life and quit chasing him.
Oh, good. Now he could live happily ever after with that princess, Michal.
No, because soon Saul changed his mind and began to hunt him again.
Good grief.
One night, Saul and 3,000 of his men were camped out as they were looking for David. David and one of his men sneaked into their camp while everyone was asleep and took the water jug and spear that was stuck into the ground beside Saul's head.
Well, Saul didn't need that spear anyway. He couldn't hit nothing with it.
Once again, David yelled out from a safe distance and showed him the spear and how he had spared his life again. And once more, Saul decided to quit chasing him.
Did he change his mind again?
He probably would have, but David went to live with the Philistines in Gath for almost a year and a half.
The Philistines? Ain't that the enemy?
Yes, in fact, the town of Gath is where Goliath was from.
Oh.
When Saul learned where David was, he gave up pursuing him.
Well, now how was David going to become the king of Israel when he wasn't even living in Israel no more?
He trusted God to make it happen whenever the time was right.
Oh, I can't wait for things good. When I become a grown-up, I'm going to eat dessert first, every meal.
Oh goodness. Hopefully by the time you're older, you'll have more patience and self-control.
I doubt it.
Things always work out better when we wait on God's perfect timing. Abraham discovered that the hard way.
Oh, what you mean?
Well, it's kind of a long story, so we'll go into more detail about it another day. But the short version is that he tried to make God's promise come true himself and ended up making a big mess.
We should change Booger Ray's name to Abraham. Our little brother could make a mess in a completely empty room.
Well, I mean that there were a lot of people not getting along with each other.
Oh.
Getting back to David. He could have easily become the king earlier by not sparing Saul those 2 times, but instead, he relied on God to fulfill his promise to him.
Well, how'd he get to be the king?
One day, Saul went out to fight the Philistines, and he and his 3 sons were killed in the battle.
Oh, he must have tried to throw a spear at him. Wait a minute. Was Jonathan one of them?
Yep.
Oh no. Is it 'cause he gave David all his armor and weapons?
I doubt it. After so much time had gone by, Jonathan had probably either gotten new ones or he may have gotten them all back from his sister Michal. Remember, David left in such a hurry that he didn't take them with him.
Oh, yeah.
David was really sad when he heard the news. He didn't eat for a while because he was so sad.
I think some cornbread would have cheered him up.
Someone brought Saul's crown to David, and later he went to Hebron, and the people of Judah declared him as the new king. Judah was a section in Israel.
Wasn't he the king over all of Israel?
Well, not at first. Saul's relatives resisted David, so he only reigned over Judah for 7.5 years. But then he became the king over all of Israel when he was 30 years old.
Good grief, he was so old then.
Yeah.
I mean, his whole life was almost over.
Well, he got to be the king for another 33 years after that. Right away, he conquered the city of Jerusalem for Israel and made that his home. Hiram, the king of the neighboring country called Tyre, congratulated his victory by sending him carpenters and logs from cedar trees so he could build a palace in Jerusalem.
Oh, a palace.
We'll talk about what happened after that next time.
Oh, another cliffhanger.
Well, I reckon I'm just going to read about it myself. I can't wait a whole week to find out the next part of the story.
Anytime we hear a teaching from the Bible, it's always a good idea to read it ourselves. That way we can be sure that what was taught was accurate.
Oh, that must be why the Bible says you got to see it to believe it.
No, the Bible doesn't say that. It's just a common expression when someone is skeptical about something. In fact, when Jesus' disciple named Thomas only believed that Jesus had come back to life after the crucifixion, when he saw the places where the nails had been in his hands, Jesus said that it is more blessed for those of us who have believed in him without seeing him.
Oh.
But that's a good motto to have concerning the Bible. We shouldn't believe what someone has told us in the Bible until we've read it for ourselves. And we should read the verses before it and after it too.
Why?
Because sometimes if you read just one verse, the meaning may not be clear without knowing the context. For example, Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Oh, I can become an Atlanta Braves catcher and be super good at math. Ooh, I can be rich and famous.
Without the surrounding verses, it does sound like it means that you can accomplish anything you set your mind to, and Jesus will help you do it. But that's not what it means. Paul is talking about how he's learned to be content in any and every situation and to endure any suffering and hardships that come his way as he's preaching the good news about Jesus.
Oh.
That's why it's so important to read and study the Bible every day so that we'll know what it says and what it means.
I don't really understand it though.
That's where getting a translation that is modern is helpful. That way it sounds like today's version of our language. The King James Version is very beautiful sounding, but it can be hard to read since it's over 400 years old and many of the words are no longer in use or even have the same meaning.
All right, I'm going to read it and fact check you, Miss April.
Okay.
I'm hoping that you got David and that princess confused with somebody else. Maybe they lived happily ever after all.
You should read it and find out.
Maybe I can shoot arrows to let Hezekiah know if we can play baseball.
Ooh, that sounds kind of dangerous. Maybe you should stick to texting Hezekiah.
All right.
You ready to play a game?
Yes.